Begin in shadow. The sound of a clock ticking, a voice cuts through. Machiavelli warned, "The world does not reward loyalty. It rewards power." The opening stabs at the core illusion the viewer lives under, the idea that goodness, patience, and being there for others ensures respect. We shatter it in the first sentence. We tell the viewer, plainly, they don't miss you now because they believe they can still replace you, become the man they can't replace, and they will regret losing you until their last breath. The hook paints betrayal not as an accident, but as a predictable result of weakness disguised as virtue. We introduce Machiavellian psychology. Loyalty is a currency you spend, not a gift you give away. The tone is cold, precise, an emotional knife purpose. Force the audience into alertness, strip away sentimentality, and prepare them for a transformation in which silence, presence, and strategic absence become their weapons. They told you that being the good man was noble, that kindness would be remembered, that sacrifice would be repaid. But the truth? The truth is colder than that. The good man is rarely remembered and almost never respected. His kindness becomes background noise. His sacrifice becomes expectation. His loyalty becomes invisible. Machiavelli would never call that strength. He'd call it vulnerability. An open castle gate in the middle of a war. A crown handed to strangers without a test. A king who abdicates before the enemy even arrives. The fatal flaw of the good guy is not his morality, it's his abundance. His presence is constant. His approval is free. His energy is always available on demand, and human nature devours what it doesn't have to earn. Predictability kills value, accessibility kills mystery, and when mystery dies, attraction and respect quickly follow. Machiavelli wrote that men sooner forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. In other words, people remember the value you control far longer than the comfort you give. When you give without measure, you tell the world you are worth little. You declare yourself replaceable. Think of it. An open castle gate is not an act of trust. It is an invitation to be rated. The good man illusion convinces you that self-sacrifice is love. But to Machiavelli, this was never mercy. It was miscalculation. The more you give without measure, the less they fear losing you, and if they don't fear losing you, they never truly value youth. World is a market, and you are a commodity. Scarcity drives desire. Abundance drives indifference. The man who is always there to answer, to help, to forgive, becomes the man whose absence is barely noticed, and when he finally leaves, they do not mourn. They simply replace him. The solution is not to become cruel. It is to become rare. The fire that burns constantly is taken for granted, but the fire that burns only when needed is treasured, guarded, and respected. This is what Machiavelli understood. Your presence must feel like a privilege, not a default picture, a crown placed in the middle of a crowded street. People will pass it without pause, but place that crown in a locked chamber, guarded by walls, surrounded by silence, and the world will wonder what king it belongs to. The value is not in the gold itself, but in the difficulty of access. Your downfall as a good man has been your transparency. They know you're next. Move before you make it. They know you will stay no matter how they treat you. They know you will forgive before they even apologize. That is not loyalty. That is surrender. Machiavelli believed love was optional, but control was not. The good man seeks to be loved first, respected second. The man of power reverses this. Respect first. Love only if it serves the purpose, because love without respect decays into contempt. This is the shift. Stop trying to be their safe harbor. Become the storm they fear losing. Withdraw your constant access. Speak less, appear less, offer only what must be earned. When you are no longer predictable, you become unforgettable. Machiavelli would tell you, make yourself so rare that losing you feels like losing a kingdom, and then watch as the ones who took you for granted begin to guard what they once ignored. This is the death of the good man, illusion, and the birth of something they will regret letting go. They will not chase what they believe they can always have. That is the first law of human desire. And the first weapon the man of power learns to sharpen. Machiavelli believed perception was worth more than reality. If they perceive you as rare, you become rare. If they believe your time is scarce, they will protect it. If they believe your presence is not guaranteed, they will treat it as a gift. Rarity is not about how many people you see, how many words you speak, or how many favors you grant. It is about the frame they hold of you in their mind, and that frame must be sculpted with precision to create the aura of rarity. You must first dismantle the habit of being always available. The man who replies instantly, attends every invitation, says yes to every request, is not a man who is valued, but a man who is consumed. Like water from a running tap, his presence is assumed, not appreciated. But when that same water becomes a well, deep and hidden in the earth, requiring effort to reach, people treat every drop as precious. Machiavelli wrote that a prince should not be too easily read. The mystery of his intentions would keep his court obedient, his enemies cautious, and his allies alert. In your own life, this means you must learn to withhold more than you reveal. Speak with purpose, not habit. Be seen less often than you are thought of. Create the tension between access and absence. Picture the stars. They do not shine all day, they withdraw, leaving the sky empty, so that when they appear again, their light feels worth noticing. The aura of rarity works the same way. Strategic absence makes your reappearance an event. When people know they cannot predict the next time they will hear from you, see you, or feel your energy, they wait for it, they anticipate it, they value it. But understand, rarity is not cold isolation. This is not about becoming invisible. It is about becoming selective. When you do appear, you must arrive with purpose, with energy, with presence. A rare gem is not simply hard to find. It is worth finding. The moment they encounter you must carry weight. A silent man who walks into the room with a deliberate gaze says more than 1,000 words from a man who is always there. The aura of rarity also protects you. It creates a layer between you and the endless demands of others. The constant, "What are you doing?" and "Can you help me?" begins to fade when they no longer feel entitled to your time. The world treats scarcity with respect because scarcity demands it. Machiavelli never asked to be understood, only to be obeyed, and obeyed he was, because his presence was never casual. It was a calculated move, a piece placed on the board with full awareness of its value. If you adopt the same discipline, you will find the game changes in your favor. The people who once ignored your absence will now adjust their behavior to earn your presence. This shift requires patience. You cannot tell them you are rare. You must show them through action. Decline invitations without explanation. Let calls go unanswered until you choose to respond when you give. Give deeply, but give less often. Rarity is built not in words, but in the patterns of your behavior. Imagine a locked room in a palace. No one knows what lies inside, but every whisper about it makes it more valuable. The mystery becomes the magnet. So it is with you. You must guard parts of yourself, your thoughts, your plans, your time, so tightly that access feels like entering that guarded room. Machiavelli would tell you, let them wonder when they will see you again. Let them question what occupies your time. Let them feel the tension between wanting you and knowing. They cannot summon you at will. This is not arrogance, it is design. The aura of rarity bends the social dynamic in your favor. You are no longer the man they can have when they want. You are the man they hope to have. The man whose absence they notice. The man whose presence they work to earn. And when you master this, the balance of power shifts quietly into your hands, setting the stage for the next weapon, silence as a blade. There is a weapon more precise than any dagger, more devastating than any war cry. Silence. It cuts not through flesh, but through certainty. It carves doubt into the mind of its target. It forces them to fill in the gaps with their own fears, their own guilt, their own insecurities. Machiavelli believed silence was sharper than any response. He understood that words reveal boundaries, but silence leaves them undefined, and an undefined boundary is a battlefield where the other side doesn't know where to step without risk. When you speak in the face of disrespect, you give them your map. They see where your anger lies, where your patience ends, where your wounds are. But when you say nothing, they are left wandering in a fog, wondering if they have gone too far, or not far enough to provoke you. That is where the fear grows. That is where control begins. Think of the assassin who doesn't strike immediately, the one who simply appears in the shadows, letting his presence be felt without a blade drawn. That tension is the same tension silence creates. It is the weight of the storm you know is coming, but cannot see. Good man illusion dies here, because the good man feels compelled to explain, to justify, to seek closure. But Machiavelli would never beg to be understood. He would let the absence of explanation do the work for him. Silence is not weakness, it is the discipline to refuse their bait, to resist the itch to defend yourself, to let them sit in the discomfort of not knowing you. Must learn to recognize when words are currency and when they are debt. Most men spend their words recklessly, handing out explanations, excuses, and reassurances as if they cost nothing. But every word spent in defense of yourself lowers your value. Every word given in reaction makes you predictable. Silence, on the other hand, accrues interest. The longer it lasts, the more valuable it becomes, because they begin to realize they may never hear from you again. Use silence as you would a blade, deliberately, at the right moment, and only when it serves your position. In arguments, it becomes the pause that makes the other side stumble. In betrayal, it becomes the absence that forces them to face the emptiness they created. In relationships, it becomes the mystery that keeps them from ever feeling secure enough to take you for granted. Machiavelli wrote that love and loyalty are fragile. Fear and uncertainty are far more reliable. Silence creates both. When they do not know where they stand with you, they become careful. They start to measure their words. They start to replay their actions, and without realizing it, they begin to bend their behavior to avoid losing what they cannot predict. The discipline of silence also strengthens you. It keeps your emotions under your control rather than spilling into the open where they can be weaponized against you. It gives you time to observe, to assess, to decide your next move without pressure. Silence is your armor against manipulation, your shield against provocation, your knife against entitlement. Picture a battlefield at dusk. No movement, no sound. The enemy waits for the first arrow to fly, but it never comes. Hours pass. Fear spreads through their ranks. They begin to imagine attacks that have not yet happened. That is the power of silence, the ability to make them fight themselves before you ever engage. You will feel the urge to speak, to clarify, to close the gap. But remember, a blade does not cut until the wielder chooses. Your words are the same. Do not waste them in moments when silence can do more damage. Machiavelli would say, if you must wound, wound in a way that makes recovery impossible. Silence does this without drawing a drop of blood, and when you master it, you will no longer be the man who reacts. You will be the man they wait on, the man whose next move they fear. This is the third weapon, and with it, you prepare the ground for the next, showing that you can replace anyone, quietly and without warning. The most dangerous man is not the one who threatens to leave. It is the one who can replace you without hesitation. Machiavelli would say, he who depends on one ally is already defeated. Dependency is a chain, and every link weakens you. When someone knows you have no alternatives, no other allies, no other options, no other paths, they own you. They can neglect you, test you, even betray you. Because they believe you have nowhere else to go. The power of replacing is not about cruelty. It is about leverage. It is the unspoken knowledge that your loyalty is a choice, not a sentence that if one door closes, you have 3 more to open. This is why the strongest kings in history always cultivated alliances beyond their borders, not because they wanted to abandon their people, but because they understood that survival demands flexibility in your life. This means building a network, a skill set, a presence so strong that no single person or situation becomes your lifeline. The moment they realize you can replace them, everything changes. Disrespect becomes caution. Neglect turns into effort. Suddenly, they are the ones proving their value to you. Picture a chessboard. The amateur guards one piece desperately, terrified to lose it. The master is willing to sacrifice any piece because he sees multiple paths to victory. You must think like the master. Do not tie your sense of worth, love, or success to one person's approval. Machiavelli never begged for loyalty. He traded for it, and if the trade no longer served him, he replaced it. Not with noise, not with dramatic exits, but with quiet efficiency. The message was clear without a single word. You are not the only path to my goals. This shift gives you 2 forms of power. First, it frees you from fear. You no longer cling to situations that diminish you. Second, it places subtle pressure on those around you. People behave differently when they know they could lose their position in your life. They work to keep it. They remember what's at stake. But here is the nuance. You never announce that you are looking for replacements that makes you look desperate for attention. Instead, you live in a way that naturally creates them. Expand your circle, strengthen your skills, build new alliances, and when the moment comes, you do not threaten to leave. You simply step into the next room and close the door behind you. This is not a game of spite. It is a game of positioning. By showing that you can replace anyone, you remove the one advantage they have over you, the belief that you need them more than they need you. Machiavelli believed that love was optional, but respect was necessary. The power of replacing forces respect because it eliminates dependence. You are no longer the man clinging to the edge. You are the man choosing where to stand, and when they realize they can be replaced, something happens. They begin to see your value more clearly. They remember the comfort you provided, the stability you offered, the silence you mastered. They remember what it felt like to have you in their corner, and they understand they may never have it again. That understanding is the root of regret. The man who can replace anyone is the man who cannot be controlled. From here, your arsenal grows sharper, because once you've removed the chain of dependency, you can wield the next weapon with precision. Emotional indifference, the ultimate shield against manipulation. Most men mistake indifference for coldness, for the absence of feeling. But true emotional indifference is not the lack of emotion. It is the mastery of it. Machiavelli believed feelings were tools, not masters. A ruler could feel loyalty, even love, but only when those feelings served his position, when they threatened his stability. They were set aside without hesitation. This is the essence of emotional indifference. You choose what you feel, and when you show it, instead of being dragged by it like a prisoner, the untrained man reacts. A harsh word wounds him, compliment intoxicates him, an insult provokes him. He is a ship tossed by the tides of other people's moods. But the man who practices emotional indifference stands like a fortress in the storm. The winds may howl, the waves may crash, but the walls remain unmoved. This is not apathy. Apathy is the absence of care. Indifference is the presence of control. You may feel anger, but you decide when and how to express it. You may feel affection, but you give it only to those who prove they can respect it. You may feel betrayal, but you do not let the betrayer see the wound. Machiavelli wrote that he who controls his own nature can control the nature of others. Emotional indifference works like armor. When people realize they cannot easily provoke you or seduce you into weakness, they stop trying to control you through emotional triggers. They adjust their approach, and in doing so, they give you the advantage. Picture water on stone. The water tries to wear it down, but the stone never reacts. Over time, the water must flow elsewhere. Your indifference sends the same message. I am not moved by your tactics. Try something else or walk away. Either way, you win. The power of this weapon is not in denying yourself the human experience. It is in creating distance between stimulus and response. Someone insults you. You observe. Someone tries to pull you into a fight. You weigh the cost. Someone offers flattery. You ask yourself why every reaction is filtered, measured, deliberate. And here is the truth. People will call you cold for practicing this. They will accuse you of not caring. But their accusations are proof of its effectiveness. They are frustrated because they cannot read you. They cannot push the buttons they once could. You have removed their control. Machiavelli would say, love may fade, fear may weaken, but the man who cannot be moved remains unconquered. When you master emotional indifference, you stop chasing outcomes. You stop being addicted to validation. You stop fearing loss, and without those weaknesses, manipulation has nowhere to root itself. The ultimate weapon is not rage. It is not seduction. It is not even power in the traditional sense. The ultimate weapon is the ability to stand in the middle of chaos, untouched, and decide your next move. With a clear mind from here, the mask becomes your tool, the identity you choose to show the world, while your true self remains hidden in shadow. Power is not always about what you have. Often, it is about what others think you have. Machiavelli understood this better than most. Perception could protect a ruler far longer than force alone. The mask of power is the image you present to the world, crafted not to reveal your truth, but to shape their belief. It is the version of you they are allowed to see, while your real strategy remains hidden behind the curtain. A man without a mask is easy to read. Every emotion, every doubt, every weakness is on display for those willing to exploit it. But the man who wears a mask forces others to guess. They cannot tell where his strengths end or his vulnerabilities begin, and when they must guess, they make mistakes. Machiavelli wrote that it is not necessary to be virtuous only to appear so. The mask does not have to reflect your entire reality. It must only project what keeps you safe, respected, and in control. For some, this is an image of calm confidence. For others, it is unshakable authority. For you, it might be a quiet presence that suggests you know more than you reveal. Think of a lion in the fog. You see its shadow before you see its body. You hear the slow steps but cannot measure the distance. That uncertainty is the mask, the space between what they think they know and what they actually know. It is in that space that fear, respect, and curiosity grow. The mask is not about lying. It is about choosing your truths carefully. Show enough to be credible, but never so much that they can predict you. A king might let his court see his confidence in public, but his doubts are known only to a trusted few. You must decide which parts of yourself belong in the public eye and which belong in the vault. The danger of living without a mask is that it makes you targetable when others know your exact fears. They can trigger them when they know your exact ambitions. They can block them, but the mask makes you a shifting target, one that cannot be pinned down, one that cannot be anticipated. Machiavelli never sought to be understood. He sought to be obeyed, and people obey what they respect, what they cannot fully measure, what they must work to access. The mask of power also grants you time to think before revealing your intentions, time to assess who is worth your trust, time to prepare your next move while they are still trying to figure out your last one. But remember, the mask must be worn with consistency. If you let it slip at the wrong moment, it can undo years of positioning. The mask becomes part of your identity. You step into it each time you step into the world, and when well, it becomes second nature. Those who underestimate you will be caught off guard. Those who overestimate you will tread lightly. In both cases, you win. Machiavelli would tell you, guard your reality behind the mask, and let the mask rule in your name. And once the mask is secure, you can begin the next move, not retreat, but strategic withdrawal, the art of leaving at the right moment, so your absence becomes a weapon in itself. Withdrawal is often mistaken for defeat. The weak retreat because they have lost. The strong withdraw because they have decided the game is no longer worth playing. Machiavelli warned that overexposure kills respect. A prince who is too accessible invites familiarity, and familiarity invites contempt. The same is true in your life. The more you are seen, the less weight your presence carries. Strategic withdrawal is how you reset that balance. It is not running away. It is not hiding. It is closing the gates of your kingdom at dusk. Not because the enemy is too strong, but because the kingdom does. Not run at night. You withdraw to protect your energy, to preserve your mystery, to make your presence an event instead of a given when you step back. The noise grows louder in your absence. They notice the silence where your voice once was. They notice the space you once filled. And the human mind hates a void. It will fill it with questions, speculation, and, eventually, regret. Withdrawal is also the cleanest form of revenge. No outburst, no grand declaration, just absence. The people who underestimated you are forced to remember you without the comfort of your return. They are left with the last image you allowed them to see. And if you have mastered the mask, that image will haunt them. Machiavelli would say, "Depart in such a way that they cannot forget you, but cannot reach you." That is the art of legacy through absence. This requires discipline. The temptation will be to return too soon, to explain your departure, to ensure they understand. But understanding is not the goal. Impact is. You want them to feel your absence more than they ever appreciated your presence. Think of a candle extinguished mid-conversation. The sudden darkness makes every word that came before seem more important. Your withdrawal should create this same effect. A sharp cut that freezes the moment in their mind. Strategic withdrawal also protects your future. It allows you to reposition, rebuild, and choose where to re-emerge. It gives you time to strengthen your position while others are still adjusting to your absence. When you return, if you choose to return, you arrive with greater control, greater scarcity, and greater leverage. Machiavelli believed that timing was as important as strength. Withdraw too late, and you leave in weakness. Withdraw too early, and you lose influence. But withdraw at the perfect moment, when your presence still has value, and you preserve that value indefinitely. This is your final silent weapon. To leave on your own terms, with your image intact, your dignity untouched, and your control absolute. And once you master it, you will never again be trapped in a place where you are undervalued. The legacy of withdrawal is simple. They may recover from losing your words, your actions, your help, but they will never recover from losing the idea of you. They will remember the day you stopped speaking. They will remember the space you left. They will remember the weight of your absence more than the light of your presence. We end with the transformation complete. The viewer has moved from open book to locked vault, from available servant to distant sovereign. Machiavelli's final whisper: make them regret the loss, but never give them the comfort of return. The CTA is thematic, not commercial. Withdraw, reframe, become the man they will regret losing until their dying day. Fade to silence. No music, just the echo of emptiness.